All right. Good morning, everyone. My name is Mike Verinder. I am the Chief Community Advocate at Katalon. Joining me today is Amar and Ajay from Testing Experts, and Vi, who is also from Katalon. I guess let's start with Amar and AJ. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself and your role at Testing Experts?
Yep. Good morning, everyone, and probably good evening and afternoon across. My name is Amar Jamadia, and I head delivery and innovation at Testing Experts. And we'll be more talking about what Testing Expert is all about. But been with Testing Expert for almost 3.5, 4 years now, I would say, and taking care of entire delivery, innovations, R&D wings. That's me. Yeah. How about you, Ajay?
Awesome.
Hey, good morning, everyone, and wherever you're located, evening, afternoon. So I work as an associate director at Testing Expert. So I work with our COE teams internally, drive them. So I'm based out of Pennsylvania, US, and I've been with Testing Experts for a while now, I guess probably like say 7 years or more than 7 years. So yeah, that's about me.
Awesome. And we also have Vi from Katalon. Vi, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, thank you, Mike. So, hey, hi all. So I am Webojan, partner solution engineer at Katalon. So my daily job is to work with the partners and clients to enable them with the technical challenges they face to adopt the Katalon. And if I talk about my experience, I have 10 plus years of software automation experience. Previous to Katalon, I was in Accenture for 8 plus years. So I was in like testing from like whole my IT experience. So that's all about me. So thank you, everyone.
Awesome, brother. Okay, so we're here today. We're here today to talk about the evolution, of Shift Up in 2023 and what that means, which is an interesting story to tell. So our agenda for today is we're gonna do our introduction, which we've pretty much kind of already done, and then I'll tell you a little bit about Katalon. Ajay will probably tell you a little bit about Testing Experts, and then we'll move straight from there into a shift left discussions, then to shift right discussions, and a little bit about shift up, which is interesting because we haven't heard a whole lot about shift up. So okay, so let's go into a little bit about Katalon. So Katalon is a well-known platform for software quality. We provide an integrated end-to-end digital experience for your IT shop. Included in that are aspects that you probably already know about or heard about, like Katalon Studio, maybe our visual testing applications, our CI/CD integration, maybe our cloud execution. But we also have a number of new AI solutions for that package as well. So if you kind of go to the next slide, Han. Oh, sorry, everybody. Han is behind the scenes doing our slides for us. So welcome, Han. This is just a little smattering of logos of some of the clients that use our platform. And the next slide are just some of our featured clients that we've had with Liberty Latin America and GE and such. So Amar, can you tell us a little bit about Testing Experts?
Sure, Mike. Thank you very much. Can you go to the next slide? And yep. So if you look at the name itself, Testing Experts. So and the name says we are expert of testing, right? We call ourselves next gen digital assurance and engineering company with a very strong focus. What you look at there is building solutions around UX, RPA, AI, blockchain, IoT, of course, day-to-day automation testing by default. We are a global company, 13 offices across the globe in 6 different countries, good number of people, 1,100 odd people focusing toward testing. right? If you look at testing era, it is large numbers, I would say, and very active. 150 active customers have served 25 from different countries. We have our own digital labs, right? A good part is we believe in giving beyond expectations to our customers. What does that mean is we bring in a lot of innovations around our services, not just providing the solutions or project executing projects. We bring in a lot of innovations around, and good news is I head the innovation, so I do bring a lot of research and that's how this shift up and and shift everywhere is coming in the picture, and we're talking about all of these, right? So very importantly, and we'll talk about, so it is nothing new. Shift up is nothing new. We'll talk about that. We are recognized as by leading analysts, market analysts, including Nelson Hall, Gartner, ISG, Everest, you name it. They have been talking to us. In fact, Nelson Hall has rated us top 5 company, largest software testing and QA company, while Gartner also has listed us, into their market guidelines as a top 11 pure play testing company. So that means we have recognition from the analyst. Not that only, we also have recognition from various award forums, like if you look at, we are awarded continuously. We have been getting award from North American Software Testing Award, European Testing Award, some DevOps Award, some across. I have not listed all of them. So that's all about testing expert. I want to talk also about a little bit about our partnership. Why don't you go to the next slide? Yeah, so we are a global partner to Katalon, though we started a silver level partnership status, which is second level of partnership, looking towards becoming a gold level. And of course, there are certain criteria to become a gold level. We're working towards with Katalon. Again, we term ourselves not just as a usual partner. What we bring into our partner is beyond what a usual partner would do. Not just going and selling your license, and not just going and talking about solutions around Katalon. It is more towards working very closely with product team, giving some feedback around what's happening, also comparing the tools against other vendors, other providers, and looking at creating accelerators. And we have been doing this for various partners, including Katalon, right? We work with Katalon. Most of the tools call it a studio, test cloud, test ops, right? And we have today 50 plus odd consultants trained working on Katalon, and we executed good number of projects, and also working towards some of the prospects. So that's all about Katalon. Sorry, our partnership. Yeah.
Amar, so that's some great stuff, man, and it's amazing to see, your role. Your role is, and I don't mean your role, but I mean testing experts' role, right? Is that just that company that can come in and give confidence both at the product side, but also a company that knows your client's vertical, right, and your business knowledge, and be able to integrate both of those and bring that offering to the market. And that's such a beautiful integration piece, that is just a beautiful piece in the space. So awesome. Okay, so throughout this conversation, we're going to take some polls and just to learn a little bit more about our audience, where your shops are at, or what your expertise is at, and kind of where you're at in your journey. So our first poll is, what methodology are you using in your organization? Are you using shift left or shift right? Are you using a combination of both of them? Or are you using nothing? None of that, or you don't really have a defined criteria that you use. And we'll probably review some of those poll results as we go along, as we go further into our discussion. Okay. Han, can you hit me with the next slide? All right. So for Amar, so we want to talk a little bit about shift left testing and how it can help and benefit your software development projects. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Sure, Mike. Certainly, I would love to talk about all three of them in reality, right? But we have been practicing shift left, right, and up, and I'm sure though Paul would say, no shift up, But when we talk about it and they would say, yes, I think we have been doing it, right? So the whole result would twist a little bit, right? As we go further down. So if you look at, in my mind, shift left is all about testing early in the CI pipeline. Again, the question comes in, Mike, what is this left is all about? What is this right is all about, right? So why it is left, why it is right, right? So the way I look at it, if you look at your DevOps, the diagram, which is, your two rings, right, together. So anything which comes on the left, right, I look at that way. I don't go back on requirement design, plan, testing, all sort of in development, coding and all, right? I look at these two, right? And which is what industry is going towards, and what is where you look at integrations continuously, deploying, delivering, testing, monitoring, all of those continuously, right? So left is all about what DevOps talks about, right? Building, coding, testing, right? I look at that way, right? And we're also going to talk about, up. So when we say up, though you have a left and right, there are certain aspects which you do on the left, we are moving them up. There are some aspects you are doing on the right, we are moving them up. And those, how do you moving them up? And what is those up is all about, we'll talk about shift left. But if you look at the left, that means you are shifting left, and you are doing more of, sort of, if you look at, I would say, you cover most of your testing, more towards left side of it. So if you look at test pyramid, right? The test pyramid starts from the developer starts writing a code, then you do a unit level of testing. Then you move on to integration testing, then you move on to system testing, and then you go into regression and that sort of thing, right? So when you say left, right? So you're moving towards left, more on unit, and that is where most of your bugs comes in, right? So if you catch your bugs early in the system, right, that means you have lesser bugs coming in the, on your pipeline.
We're testing earlier into the process, right?
Correct.
Okay. And would you think that maybe TDD or maybe even BDD or aspects of shift left, maybe?
TDD is correctly right. If you look at BDD is all toward, not just shift left or shift, only not on the shift left, because it is ultimately a language which anybody can understand, your stakeholders, your testers, your developers, right? But TDD certainly is. But I'm going even beyond that, right? I'm going beyond that because, again, if you look at practically, not many company practices TDD today, right? We still practice usual way of agile methodology, right?
Yes.
Right? So that's how we'll start from. So if you look at, and also I talk about not just testing, unit testing, not a functional, even you can do early non-functional testing, right? You can do your performance, you can do your security, a little bit of usability early in the testing, and that is what I look at as a shift left testing. So you find a bug even during your small security scan you do on your left, right? And what it helps you ultimately, that it gives you some initial information, and when you go on the right, when you deploy and during deployment you do it larger NFR testing, right? So that's why I look at more of that, right? And the benefit, if you look at, Mike, because you asked me the benefit it brings in, right? First thing comes to my mind is, right, start with enhanced test coverage, right? Because you are looking at a developer level first, right? Not going on tester, right? So developers are writing logic, so they would make sure all the logics are being tested by using your unit testing, right? It's your in reality a testing which is white box, right? And then you go to gray to black, right?
Yep.
You can find early bug, that could be another benefit, right? That means you have better code, better quality. Third could be effective use of time, right, of a tester. So testers are not sitting idle, they have been doing it. It's not waiting for the code to come in and then start testing. So your team is involved around the your sprint planning, right? Less maintenance, right? And most importantly, I would say, and conclude my statement, you fail small and fail fast. That's important, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Right.
Ajay, what are some specific strategies or techniques that you've found effective in shift left?
There are quite a few, but maybe let me take a stab at it. One of the things from the implementations that we have done so far, I would say with various tools and specifically with Katalon, right? So having static code analysis very upfront in the cycle, like say on your CI/CD pipelines, you want to have the static code analysis as part of your jobs. The reason for that is whenever your dev code merges into your develop branches or say into your stage or main, you would be able to figure out whether they have been written according to the standards, were there any defects that are getting leaked into your code coverage. So all that could be figured out at the pipeline itself. So that's gonna give you like a fair bit of understanding on like, was the code written according to the standard, or were there any defects that could leak from the code that has been written? So that's one. Then the other thing I would say is like, say, early in the testing, you do the testing on say QA environment or say staging environment or say on a pre-prod environment. But if we could mimic the production environment very closely early in the life cycle, like say on your QA or on the staging, that would help. So that would help in multiple perspectives, meaning you could have a relative comparison on like how many users would be hitting your product, or say, were there any security loopholes in it? So all that could be like handled pretty early in the life cycle, and you would be able to figure that out. Then again, like Amar mentioned one of it, like say having the QAs early in the product life cycle. So make them look at the requirements, make them look at how the product is getting designed at the user story level itself. So they could figure out on like whether there were any loopholes in the requirement, or say if there were any scope creeps inside the user stories that were getting designed. So that could also be figured out. And pyramid is something that we all know. The left you code, the less it would be for the defect, or say the effort that you're going to need to like a fix a defect. So more units, more APIs than your front-end testing or the UI test. So yeah, these are some of the things, but I'm sure there are quite a lot of others.
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole strategy there, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And how you address that is a little bit different depending on the shop and the implementation.
And it depends upon the product that you're using to address. Like I'm sure we're going to go through some of them now. So yeah, it depends upon like the product, how you are implementing it, what kind of STLC you're following. So, but at a very high level, these are some of strategies that you could implement on any software. It's just that how you implement it would vary.
So I know Katalon addresses shift left in a lot of ways. It's I mean, there's not just one way that Katalon addresses shift left, but I think you prepared a little demo for us to talk about maybe some API efforts as it relates to shift left.
Yeah. So as like, yeah. So yeah, Mike, as you all talked about the shift left, you talk about so many like strategic or like method to do the shift left. So I'm going to present one of the method, like how Katalon is supporting the shift left. So hope my screen is up for everyone. So yeah, so let me talk about shift left. So as we discussed so many methodologies, so today I'm going to talk about one of that, which is the API testing. So I will show how we can easily do the API testing using the Katalon. So to start with the API testing, I'll just walk you through. So as you can see here in the project action, we have the option. If you're working with any of the like web service endpoints, you can directly do the import. So in Katalon, you have features to do the directly import from any of the web service endpoints. And Katalon mainly work with the RESTful and SOAP requests. So if you don't have, you got the web service from your developers, you got the data input data, and you want to test at the Katalon ends, how you can start. So for that, you need to add that web service at the object repository points. So what you need to do, you can just go and add that object as a new in the web service request. Here, what all data you need? You can give your web service any name for that. So for time being, I'm giving the name for the reference. And here you need the web service endpoint URL, which you are going to trigger to get the information or to put your information. So for the reference, I'm going to use this web service sample web service request. So this is my web service request. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. So this I'll put in a URL and I'll click on OK. So as soon as I'll add this you can see here, the web service got added here as an object in the Katalon object repository. And here you will get the list of the predefined method, which is for the web service endpoints. And if you have any custom methods based on your web service request, you can always go with the customized method that you can easily add. So it's, if I'll say Katalon is a very user-friendly tool. If you're a new user, you need not to go here and there to find out how it works. So with the API, you can add the set timeout, response size, everything setting you can do in this same page only. So you need not to trigger, go anywhere else to do the settings. So if I talk about now, if I trigger this, okay, let me say, if I trigger this web service, you can see the request, the results is also getting generated on the right hand side with the status code, how much time it took for the web service to get processed, and the size of data. And here also you have an option to see the response in a different formats. Like by default, it will give you on the JSON format. If you want, you can check on HTML, XML, JavaScript. So you have that option also, customize option. And if you want to work on the authorization, so Katalon supports so many types of authorization. So based on your web service request, you can add the authorization at the same screen only. And if I talk, this is about the GET request. If I talk about the POST request, so POST request, we need to pass the HTTP body. So if you want to pass the HTTP body, for HTTP body also, we support so many formats of data. You can pass on text, JSON, XML.
Awesome.
So, yeah, so this is only one page where you can manage all your web service. You can customize your web service request. You need not to go to any other screen. You want to do the parameterization, you can define your parameters here. You can define your variables here. You can pass the value. And if you want to add the verification and validation steps, so that also you can add it here. You can see here, you can add the verification and validation steps in this screen only. This is one screen which will do all the activity related to API testing. So this is the way.
Go ahead, Vi, I'm sorry. I was just saying that, I think a lot of people forget that we do a lot of API testing in Katalon. They think of visual testing. They think of our CI/CD options. They think of, Katalon Studio in a traditional UI perspective. And I think they forget a lot of the API aspects of it. So
yes, yeah, Mike, you are correct. And if I talk about the API testing on Katalon, it supports vast, like it's having full support. Whatever web service requires endpoints you take, Katalon supports all those. And you can do the customization as per your request. Like you can take the data from one of the service, you can put on second, you do the verification, validation. That not on here also, you can do at test case level also. Like this, the way I have added this web service at object level. But if I talk about the customization, so you can see here, like I have created one script where I'm running one web service request. I'm fetching the data, passing on to second one, like getting the data. And again, I'm doing the validation. So you can see we have so many options on the API endpoints. So it's not like you can just create the web service. You can do anything. You customize the way you want web service to work. So I think this is the one good example for the shift left, as Amar and Ajay, they have talked about shift left. So please, Amar and Ajay, like if you want to add anything on the shift left.
The other beauty is you could do hundreds of data sets on the same endpoint at the same screen in Katalon. So that gives you a huge coverage.
All right.
That's true. That's true.
Thank you, Vi.
Sure.
Han, do you have any results from the first poll? There you go. So this is interesting. What's interesting about this poll to me is the none, right? Where 60% of our audience doesn't really have a defined, shift left or shift right. So hopefully this is really informational to you, and hopefully you'll be able to get something out of this webinar. What is shift left and what is shift right, and hopefully how and shift up. and hopefully how some of these practices can help your shop be more productive. Okay, so Han, can you let's do our second poll. All right, so we know probably about 50% of our audience hasn't used shift left or shift right, but for those that have, how many are using it right now with Katalon? And that'll be our second poll today, and we'll go over those results a little bit later. As we continue and move our discussion a little bit into the shift right, we're shifting right our discussion a little bit. Amar, can you tell us a little bit about what shift right is? And I guess how you would describe that approach? You're on mute. You're on mute, Amar. Amar, you're on mute.
Can you hear me now?
Bud. Yes, sir.
Yes, Amar.
Sorry about that. Sometimes that happens.
Okay.
This happened on the I shifted down rather than up, left and right, up, right, shifted down. Okay, so for me, shift again right is go back to again the diagram, right, of your DevOps diagram. Anything on the right side, right, which is more of you deploy, operate, monitor. So anything to do with the right side of, you do it more on the right, right? So what does that mean is so if you look at when you deploy your environment, when you deploy your software into the environment, right, you do not go through the real time production setup any till your pre-prod. Even pre-prod is not real time. If you look at it, is not mimicking the production environment. So what we are saying shifting right is more towards mimicking a production environment. Look at your dependencies of third-party APIs, right? I'm just talking about that. How do you mimic them also? How do you create the not synthetic data? How do you create the production level of data into your environment with masking and all, and do all of those right side of testing, right? That includes your usability, experience testing, right? Do your news stories, what you have on your left, right? Make the system better for the users. That is usability, right? That you do on the right in the real world environment, and that is where your acceptance tester user, some of your real-time users comes and does testing, right, on the right side. When you do a continuous monitoring of the systems, right, you basically gather a lot of data, right, observability tools or different sort of logging analysis, and then you find also some sort of incremental changes, bring them in to your sprint, right? Look at creating chaotic environment in the production, right? Production system, pre-product, not production, mimicking a production environment, right? Create a chaotic environment to understand your system resistance level, right? Whether the system can resist when the load on your e-commerce site goes millions of the users at certain time of the day, right? I'm just giving an example. All of those. So you bring them into real-time environment, and of course, ultimate goal is that you find all of those, remediate them, bring them into a sprint. That is all about shift right. I feel from my perspective. Anybody wants to add on, Mike, you or Ajay, you can add on.
Yeah. So, I mean, Ajay, do you have any strategies, specific strategies that kind of cater to shift right?
Yeah, like Amar mentioned. So, like when we talk about shift right, your product is already deployed on the production. So, what do we do after it is deployed on production so that we give a better user experience for whoever the users that were accessing the product from across the globe? So there were a couple of strategies, or I would say maybe terms that some of us may have heard, like say anomaly detection, meaning say your product is deployed and you have user stories, test cases that you have written over a period of time, which you have tested before you have deployed it. But after the product is deployed, you don't know how the end user would interact with your system. It could be the same user journeys that you have already tested, or it could be like entirely different. So it could be pure exploratory testing. So you would probably try to figure out if at all someone is going outside of the normal behavior of like how a user would interact with your product, how do I figure out those abnormal behaviors from end user interactions? So that's something called as anomaly detection, which can be figured out with some ML algorithms that were there. I'm sure that you mentioned Katalon also is investing on AI, right? So that's where this comes into picture, where you figure out like how an end user is interacting with your product and you test them, get those scenarios, test them early in your product lifecycle so that you eradicate it when it goes to production. The other thing, like Amar mentioned, chaos engineering is something like, say you have deployed your product at say multiple data centers. Now you purposefully want to shut them down and figure out like what happens when you shut those data centers down. So it has to fail gracefully, meaning there should not be like, say, when I say gracefully, you give a message to the user saying that, okay, they are unable to reach out to the site and you would be back up in like, say, some amount of time and a backend team is working on it. So it has to fail gracefully rather than like giving abrupt messages. So that's something that, again, we do on the shift type testing. And there is another thing called A/B testing. What does that means is, okay, you found something on your production, which is a quick fix that you could do, but you don't want to take off your production or bring your production environment down for a certain period of time. So there is a way that you could like introduce your new feature by testing it through with the help of flags, and you call it as A/B testing. So these are like a couple of things that we do on the shift type testing, which Katalon does also through the CI/CD pipelines. But yeah, some of them. There are many more, but yeah, I guess we're going to be cut short on the time if we cover everything.
That's correct.
I get it. Just really quick, one quick question from the audience is in Shift, is this for Ajay? In Shift Right, do we need to make a different QA team to be able to test from left to right?
Not really. I would say the way the strategies would be different, but the same team who does the shift left would be able to perform the shift right also. It's just the technologies or the tools would be a little different from what you do on the shift left.
Yeah, I've seen different shops do different ways. You know, it just really depends on the shop.
Right.
How, you know, there are small shops out there that, you know, you have 5 QA testers that do everything. All right.
Oh, yeah.
And you have big shops out there that have hundreds of total quality space. So it's hard to just say one thing because there's just so many different. That's where a company like Testing Experts is so valuable, because they can help inform you kind of on your vertical and your instance for your business, what makes sense, right? So
only one thing awesome. Only one thing I'll add, Mike, when you talk about shift right, so you're basically set of testers or set of people who is going to work on it would be more operational, and the testing team, when you left, it's a developer and tester, right? You understand? So that's the only difference. So you certainly bring in the newer set of people to do all of these chaos engineering. I'm just giving you fault tolerance testing. I'm just giving an example of all of those, right? How do you make sure your system is, going to function as you expected them to function, right? So yes, there are some set of users, some set of people you would bring in to test. Yes, you're right.
We have a number of approaches to shift right at Katalon as well, but can we share one of those
Mike,
approaches?
So, yes, that's true. So like as Amar and Ajay, they already mentioned about the CI/CD process. So Amar, I have a doubt, like it's the performance testing will also come in the part of shift right, or how it will be like?
It would be for sure. It would be, because ultimately that is how you look at your load. That is how you look at resistance level of your application. Yes.
I asked this question because I have prepared the Swift Lite demo based on the performance testing. As we all know, Katalon is a functional tool, but as we are talking about the Swift Lite, moving to the Swift Lite, Katalon is also like moving to the Swift Lite. So if I talk about, so we have recently done the integration with the one of the performance tool, which is the Octoperf. With the help of Octoperf, we are trying to create the continuous performance testing process. So with the help of Octoperf, we are building the activity on the application, and with the help of, we are triggering the activity and generating the report, which is getting stored on the Katalon platforms. So, and the integration with the Octoperf is very easy. What you need to do, you just need to create the project. You need to create your scenario over the Octoperf, and you need to create the virtual users on the action which you activity which you want to perform over the application. You just need to record your activity and create the virtual users on the Octoperf. Once you have done that, you have created your template, keep the things ready. What you need to do at Katalon end. So to do the integration with the Katalon, it's very easy. Just you need to map your template ID, scenario ID, workspace ID, project ID, whatever you have done in the Octoperf, that you need to add at Katalon end. And we are just going to trigger the activity with the help of API endpoints. How we can add the API endpoints. So I'm going to show in the Katalon level. So here you can see, I have, as I already mentioned, for the integration from the Octoperf, I have created my project activity on the Octoperf side. So this is my Octoperf project. I have created my workspace here. In workspace, I have added project. I have recorded my activity. So I created virtual users. I generated my scenarios. I kept everything ready. And what I'm fetching the data from here, and I'm integrating with the Katalon. So to integrate with the Octoperf, we just need to add all those information at the profile level. You can see I have just passed this value, the scenario level, this, and we need to use the two web service requests. One is post request, where we are telling the like Octoperf to start the activity which we have created on the application side in the Octoperf. We are using the data from the global variable, the same data, scenario ID, template ID, whatever we have stored, we are using same data. Once the activity got started, we are fetching the result from the API web service only. And with the help of this, we are generating the PDF report, and which we are storing in our same folder structure. You can see this download report.sh is the report which is getting generated. So if I need to trigger this, I can go to this. I have created one test, so where I am calling all these test cases, which I'm creating. And just I need to trigger it from here. 1 second. So I need to just trigger it from here. Once I trigger it, I can go and see whether the activity got started or not in the Octoperf. If I show that, so you can see after within a minute, it will get start. So you can see here, there is one new activity will get add here. So if I'll refresh this, okay, there's 1 second. Sorry for the yeah, sorry for the confusion. Okay, there's something happened just now. So this blunder happens generally when we'll do the demo. So
Click.
Let
me restart this project 1 second.
I think no worries, Mike. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
1 second. Yeah, it will not take much time. I'll just trigger it and I'll just show the reports. So.
Well, it's important to note that the Katalon has a lot of different approaches a number of different ways that you can move to shift right, right? So
Yes.
we have a CI/CD, a lot of CI/CD integration.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
and a lot of other ways. Performance testing is just an aspect of.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So, like as you have talked about the CI/CD integration, so as you can see, Katalon supports almost all the kind of CI/CD tools supports. So as you can see, we have the list of supports available for the different CI/CD tools. So you just name it, you will get everything on the Katalon site.
So I kept
And
seeing an allow button from Apple pop up on your screen. Maybe you weren't allowing it to
uh,
have
sorry,
access.
maybe
Okay.
something like, yeah, something got like
that's
blocked.
what I think probably happened. It was probably
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Apple.
so once you trigger that web service request, you can see the report is getting stored in our Katalon platform, which is our central repository. And here you will get the reports. You can see here, this is first the web, we are starting the post request where it's successfully starting our build activity. And here, after that, we are fetching the data from that build activity. We are getting the report ID, we are getting the result ID, and with help of that, we are generating the report in the PDF format. So if I'll show, maybe the format is not correct, but this is the format of the report batch report will get generated.
Awesome.
Once the execution will get over.
Awesome.
As we already know, like Katalon is functional tool. Now we are moving towards slide to the performance tool. What platform for all the kind of testing? I will say that.
Awesome. Thanks, Vaughn. Han, we had a poll. Would it be possible for you to show us the results of the second poll that we did? Thank you. So our second poll was, have you implemented shift left, shift right using Katalon? And 81% said no. So I would remind the audience, look, we do CI/CD every day. It's a very it's highly used. A lot of people use different CI/CD tools with our integrations like Jenkins and things like that. I would encourage you to give it a try. It's easy to set up. You can even ping me personally and I'll even help you if you need to. So, okay, so let's go into our third poll. And our third poll, which is kind of our third area that we're going to talk about today, is shift up testing. Amara, can you tell us a little bit about shift up? What is shift up? What does that mean?
Right. Can you hear me, Mike?
Yes, sir. You're unmuted.
So this time I'm good. Okay, so if you look at shift up, in fact, though the word looks very new, but in reality, we have been doing it, right? We have been doing it. Most of us have been doing it. Probably not automated way of doing it, maybe a manual way of doing it, right? So what is it's all about? It is all about going beyond your application testing. It is not just application testing, application functional testing. You're going beyond that. You are going basically up. Up means when something goes wrong, what you do, you go to your manager, right? So going up. Here in this case, you are going up to your customer, right? So ultimately, it's very simple. Listen, advocate, and account for your customer needs, right? It is not just about testing an application. It is beyond. You also truly meet customer and business expectations, which is very, very important. So take example of this. There is a banking application. I'm just giving two examples, and let's see. Banking application which allows you to register, log in, and you do a transaction, right? There is a customer who has brought in the application, but what they have is every time you have to go to account, you have to go through registration process, right? If this work is given to us as a testing company, I would continue to do that because that's the business, that's a tool which they wanted to run it. But in reality, do you think any customer would use that tool? Hey, I need to do a transaction in my application, business application, banking application, and every time I go and deposit the money or transfer money, I have to not instead log in, I have to register it, right? I'm just giving an example, very nobody would do it. So that means it is all what we do today. You get a requirement, you execute the requirement. You get a requirement, you don't look at going more closer to customer. So what this all talks about is understand the business, your end customer requirement, and which you do it, but automate all of these together to bring that into your testing or dev cycle, right? Take example, right? A customer asking that, hey, I want to develop this mobile application, but it's a global application. I want to make sure that you have consistent look and feel across any platform, mobile platform across the globe, right? Now, what would you do? You assume, oh, there is a Samsung phone, there is an X phone, Y phone, 10-inch, 6-inch, 3-inch, right? All sort of things you'll think about and you develop it, right? And you bring and test it with these tools. But in reality, there is a small city in Indonesia. They use BlackBerry today, right? I'm just giving an example, right? So your form factor would not work. So how do you make sure all of those can be brought together into your testing arena, and you address all of those? So identifying, those data, getting insight of the data, and addressing them through your testing methodology. And their methodology is all about up, right? So that means you are bringing left and right is always there, but moving them a little bit up using automation tool. And that you can do it only with usage of various AI based tool. And SIFTUP is nothing. It is just all of these covering through AI. A traditional tool would not give you that. And I understand Katalon is also looking at AI. One of the reasons could be that, how do you shift yourself up?
Sure. We're not just looking at AI, we're doing it. So,
exactly.
I mean, we've already released a number of AI tools. And I don't think we line those out to talk about today, but we certainly have talked about them a lot, and we will continue to. Ajay, what are some essential components and practices that contribute to shift?
Well, I guess Amar did touch upon quite a bit of it, but a couple of things I would mention is how do we get the end user feedback? Like typically in current days, like you have multiple releases of a product, and after the product is released, you get the user feedback, right? So we have alpha testing, beta testing, sort of these terms that were already embedded into our SDLCs. But is there a sample size that we could increase when we do the beta testing? Like say, can we do an early access programs with say a limited set of people across demographics, across geographies? So what we have done in some of the implementations that we did in the past are have a limited set of people across demographics who could beta test a product after every couple of releases, or say after every release. So we get the feedback pretty early in the process, and like it's kind of like a loop, right? So you have your developers, then your testers, you're releasing, then the end user is also giving you feedback every couple of releases. So you have that constant loop, and that's how you improve the product. And at the same time, exploratory testing is something that we do very widely. Like exploratory testing is a term that we all know, but we do it at a very low level, but that's something that we do at a very vast or a very widespread level within the product. That kind of like gives us edge cases. So rather than like testing the product traditionally, what are those additional edge cases that you kind of like look at, which going to give you that feedback or that pattern where an end user would probably look at the product. So a couple of things, but Amar did, touch upon quite a few of them.
Yep.
Okay. Yep. And I guess our next is, really, the other question I really wanted to talk about is kind of how do we envision integrating a shift left and shift right and shift up? And how do we, what is the best way to integrate all of these? And what's the benefits that integrating all of these together
right
can provide
right.
to the client?
I can take this, Mike. So, Mike, if you look at today, right, and I spoke about those scenarios, right? A scenario where Ajay talked about edge test case, right? But again,
Yep.
you are doing with the beta testers, right? How about having a tool which could mine everything, right? So we have done for a customer where we've installed a tool called a task mining tool, right? So what it does is basically it sits on your computer as a user, and it keeps on looking at your journey of the application testing, right? So whatever you do, so what happens? Usual developer would do based on certain scripts, right? Tester would do based on certain scripts, but this guy does not have any scripts. So they will go through, so you have thousands of users going through their own way of testing it. What we do is we bring them into, as a part of their different traces, into AI, right? Model. Bring them into the model, right? And now I
Yes.
understand the model says, hey, out of these 1,000 users, 30 users from Indonesia has used very differently, right? So they have gone through the same scenarios, but different way of going through. Traces are different. So that becomes my edge test case, but you don't do it manually. So that becomes another one, right? So that you bring in. So that means you are doing it left and right together, but up is something where you bring the test cases. Look at example of how do I identify these different form factors, right? You have these analytics, right? Google Analytics, you have this, your store analytics, which is more of, you go to Google Play or Play Store, right? You can look at a lot of analytics and bring those data, understand what set of user groups are using what sort of devices, right? That gives you, again, coverage of what devices you need to look at it, right? So all of these,
Yeah.
if you add them, that gives you in reality. And then third thing, as I said, user feedback. Feedback is in the form of, analytics, which you do it, right? So altogether, if you look at merging left, you're not removing left and right. Left and right has to be there. You have to have traditional testing. While traditional testing, how do I make sure when I do an integration on each build, I don't test everything. I don't run every test of bed what you have on integration test bed. I want to run only 10 of those which is impacted by the changes which are coming in my system. You understand, right? So
Sure.
you have integration testing, you have all of the testing on left and right, but you bring in the tool, you bring the insights, and ultimately you slowly lift up instead of testing all the integration tests for every build. You do only integration test of pick and choose through a tool based on the changes coming from your development, right? From your requirement changes, right? So all of these club together. In fact, you can, and you do it today. If you ask me, most of the company does it. Probably they are not using the tool. If they have to do integration testing, they would know, oh, these are the 6 test cases I have to pick and update, right? They would ask user, hey, what sort of devices you are using? They will use those devices, right? But in reality, you use all of these together with left and right. You don't say that, hey, only I can do up. You have to do left and right, and then add
Right.
on up to make it more robust product to the market and satisfied customer.
Right. Yeah. So one, again, Katalon addressed this shift up. I guess one way that we address some of that is with our dashboards and the
Yes.
visibility that we
Yeah.
give to management on all the phases and all the different actions of your tool, and basically the health of your projects, right? Vi, do you have a demo that can kind of lead us into test ops and show us a little bit about it?
Yes. Yeah, Mike. So as you can see, I share my screen so you can see the dashboard where you will get the reports on the different data sets or different formats. Based on that, you will get the release readiness. So you can map your release directly with the Jira, where on each release you can find how many defects are there, what is the release, how many test cases passed, how many got failed, whether the due is overdue, delivery is overdue, you can get all such detailed analysis. You can see the test case creation productivity also month-wise, on which month it's low, on which month it's high. So management can go and check with the team, what is the issue, why the productivity is low. So, and if you were talking about the quality, so you can see the flaky test distribution. So you can check why the application is getting flaky over this
So
time.
we're talking in test ops, we're showing results and showing that visibility into your shift right uses and also into your shift left uses. And we're bringing those together to show your operational efficiencies, basically, right? And how
Ye-
they align. to
Yes,
your
Mike.
operation.
Yes, Mike. And Ajay, as you already told about that platform coverage. So here you will get the visual reports of the platform coverage. So if you want to target which platform you are not targeted, you can get the visual reports. So you can make planning for towards those platform also, which you have not covered as part of the testings. So you can see all these visual reports here. You can do the requirement coverage. As of now, I have not mapped it, but we can do that, and you will get all the detailed analysis in this dashboard page only. You need not to go to any other page to find the reports. You can get the reports based on your time period, for which time period you want to see. And if you want to go for the detailed report, you can go to our this report section, where you can find, like, if some of the test case which is not stable, so you can get the reports here and you can target those test cases. So
And
if you
this
see here,
platform is kind of like customizable, right? So if at all you
yes,
track the end
yes,
user stats, like how the end users are using the production environment. So that's also something.
yes.
Yeah,
So you can customize this reports also based on the usage, based on the fields, whatever you need it.
I would also note that we're also working on a new product. We we call it. I mean, it's a product focused around autonomous test generation, and I
Yes,
think that is actually a really good reflection of Shift Up as well, because that will give you a
yeah,
lot
yeah.
of insight.
Yeah,
Um,
that's true, Mike. That's true, Mike. So I'll add something for that. So autonomous test generation, like as Ajay and Amar have mentioned, like to observe the user interaction with the application. So same way, like where we are coming with one product where we are installing the Katalon AI robot on the production environment, and it will observe the user interaction with the application for like 1 or 2 days, and it will generate the scenario based on that.
All right. Hey guys, I really enjoyed our discussion so far today. I think we're about to wrap up a little bit. Amar, Ajay, do you have anything that you wanted to add at the end?
Yeah, so there was a question by Russ around, what we are showing. The dashboard is not all about shift up. And Russ, you are right. It is not shift up, but the data which you are collecting, right, that would help you
Yes.
moving towards up. So that's what the answer would be from my side. Yeah, that's all
Yes.
from my side. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Do we have any questions from our audience? Oh, I'm sorry. I guess should have.
We have only one question,
Hans
Mike.
given me the survey. Hans putting the survey up. please let us know what you thought about our webinar, and please reach out. You can always reach out to me personally and give me some advice on how to improve. We'd love to know ways that we can affect your team better. So do we have any questions? I did see a question pop up in the audience.
Yeah, so Mike, we have 2 questions in Q&A section. So
Okay.
first one is, in Shift Right, do we need to make different QA team to be able to test from left to right?
Right. So we addressed that one earlier. I saw that one pop up earlier, and we addressed that one earlier. And the second question,
yeah, which tool I have mentioned about test generation. So it's still like it's in development phase. So maybe we'll like Katalon will launch it soon. So you will get updates on the same. So yeah.
Okay. All right. That concludes our chat today. Thank you, Amar and Ajay, for joining, and obviously thank you, Guy, for sharing all of those awesome demos, man. I appreciate it. We look forward to a continue awesome partnership with Test Experts. You guys are amazing in the field. It's certainly it's lovely to work with y'all.
Yes,
okay.
Mike. Thank you. Amazing tool, and we have been using very extensively. here with us, right? So thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for hanging out with us.
Thank
Thank
you. Thank you, Ajay. Thank you, Amar. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.